We're heading into the middle of the Atlantic now because we're going to look at one of the most famous shipwrecks of all time, the focus of all those documentaries and Hollywood movies. But there's one version of Titanic we have never seen until this morning.
That's right. Experts have used special technology to map the entire ship on the ocean floor and create its digital twin. And our science editor, Rebecca Morell, has been given exclusive access to the project.
Nearly 4,000 metres down, in the murky depths of the Atlantic, the Titanic. It's so huge that in the gloom, cameras can only ever show us tantalising snapshots of the decaying ship, never the whole thing. But now a new project has revealed the wreck as it's never been seen before.
There aren't many places big enough for the wreck of the Titanic, but this is one of them, the stadium where the 2012 London Olympics was held.
A full-sized scan of the wreck has been captured, and to appreciate its scale, we've superimposed it in the stadium.
The Titanic was simply colossal, and this 3D scan reveals the wreck in its entirety. For the first time, we have an exact digital copy of the real thing. And what you see here is what's lying on the floor of the North Atlantic Ocean. And not only can we get an idea of the ship's enormous size, this scan also gives us a close-up view of its smallest details.
You can explore the wreck from every angle. The boat deck here can be seen from above. The gaping hole provides a glimpse inside, where the grand staircase once stood. And this is what's left of the captain's bridge and the wheelhouse, covered in fragile stalactites of rust. Already some remarkable detail can be seen, like this serial number on a propeller.
What makes this different is a true digital twin of the Titanic. The resolution is phenomenal, genuinely phenomenal. I've not seen anything of that resolution. This will allow scientists, historians to re-understand how the Titanic came to be where it is, and it's also it's a snapshot in time.
The Titanic was scanned last summer. Submersibles were deployed, remotely controlled from the ship. They travelled the length and breadth of the wreck, back and forth. 700,000 images were taken from every angle to build up an exact 3D reconstruction. The wreck is in two parts. The bow is still instantly recognisable, more than 100 years after it sank. 800 metres away, the stern, though, is a chaotic mess of metal. It collapsed as it corkscrewed into the sea floor. In the surrounding debris field, items are scattered. Ornate metalwork, unopened champagne bottles, and personal possessions too. Dozens of shoes resting on the sediment. Despite how extensively the Titanic has been explored, there are still many fundamental questions. The hope is this scan could provide answers.
We really don't understand the character of the collision with the iceberg. We don't even know if she hit it along the starboard side, as shown in all the movies. She might have grounded on the iceberg. And this photogrammetry model is one of the first major steps to driving the Titanic story toward evidence-based research and not speculation.
The sea is taking its toll on the wreck. Microbes are eating away at it and parts are disintegrating. Time is running out to find out what happened on that April night in 1912, when more than 1,000 lives were lost. But the scan now freezes the wreck in time and allows experts to pore over every minute detail. The hope is Titanic may yet give up its secrets. Rebecca Morell, BBC News.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's
Absolutely
stunning.
Incredible to see it. And we're delighted to say we're joined now in the studio by Anthony Geffen, who's the Chief Executive Creative Director of Atlantic Productions, one of the firms behind this project. I bet you still can't quite believe it when you see it on the screen like we have this morning.
No, I mean, this is the first time it's been revealed, and it's been a long time coming, a huge amount of work. But it's amazing to actually see it now, and the detail. The detail is phenomenal. I mean, they've literally captured one-to-one resolution on a digital twin, which is pretty extraordinary.
Talk us through the detail. What can we see that we haven't seen before?
Well, I first went to the Titanic about 5 years ago on an expedition because nobody had been to the Titanic then for 14 years. And what we were looking at is what's the state of the Titanic. And it was extraordinary, and Titanic just captures you. in a way. So what I really wanted to do was to be able to go back and break new ground, to actually capture the Titanic in a way that we could properly use science to look at what happened on that fateful night. And we met up with deep water specialists, Magellan, and they mounted an extraordinary expedition to the Titanic to capture literally every rivet, every detail, using scanning and other technology. And that gives us, I mean, what I never dreamt we'd have, an ability to literally look around the site to find out what happened, or we will find out because the journey's beginning now, to find out what happened on that fateful night, but also the details of the personal stories. You know, we can actually tell from the wreck, we can see personal details and tell personal stories.
Which is really important, isn't it? Because I think sometimes we get fascinated, obsessed with the structure of the ship. Understandably, phenomenal achievement to build and then lose. But it's all about the people.
It is all about the people, and I mean, you know, just a couple of examples of what the scientists are already what's coming out of the wreck. We can go to Boiler Room 1, and Park Stevenson, one of the Titanic experts, has worked out that when it actually imploded at the top of the boiler room, and so it was alight when it into the water. So we now know that that boiler room was the boiler room, and who's in it, who were keeping the lights on that allowed so many people to escape the Titanic. What a personal, you know, what personal moments that is. And then...
Because that's always been a mystery, isn't it?
It's always been a mystery as to what happened. And then another mystery is people like Officer Murdoch, who's always been accused of not launching the last lifeboat. But if you actually go to there, you find a tiny little davit, which is was still blocking where the lifeboat should have launched. So we now know that, in fact, he was trying to launch it. I mean, this is just the beginning of so many. And then there's the debris field, this area of about 3 miles wide, where when the boat went down, a lot of the belongings of people were spilled out over the ocean. And we're using artificial intelligence of faces and other details of each passenger to actually say, who is that watch? You know, whose is that megalodon necklace that we found on the bottom of the ocean? And that, I think, brings it back to life. I mean, you know, it's 111 years ago, but it's bringing it back to now, and I think allowing people to go on a journey today.
You just said you found a necklace at the bottom of the ocean. It's not that one, is it?
No, it's not. We haven't yet found that, but you know, you've got to understand this is masses of data, and the experts are only just beginning to find, you know, extra detail. We found a cherub that was inside the main staircase area. I mean, all these details, you know, day by day are coming out.
And one of the things you said earlier is you said, we're going to find out what happened. And you've given us some of the personal stories. Don't we kind of know what happened? We had Parks on the programme earlier on this morning, and he gave us his theory. Do we really know what happened? OK,
what's happened is, and, you know, great explorers have been down to the Titanic, Ballard and Cameron and others, but actually they went with very low-resolution cameras, and they could only speculate on what happened. We now have every rivet of the Titanic, every detail, and we can put it back together. So for the first time, we can actually see what happened, and we can use real science to find out what happened. Now, I didn't think that was ever going to be possible, but it is, and it's now being captured, so it's very exciting, and it will take a long time to go through all those details. But literally, week by week, there are new findings that we never knew existed.
In 2012, for the centenary of Titanic, I went to the wreck site for breakfast on a ship, and we didn't go down, but we just stayed on the surface of the water, and on board that cruise ship were hundreds of families whose ancestors were on board Titanic, and many of them perished. And I know that some of them are a little worried about the intrusion, the diving. They think it should be left as a gravesite on the bottom of the water. Well, what do you say to people who think that this is a little intrusive and we should just leave it?
With all our projects, we've involved family members of survivors. And all we can say is that a large number want to know what happened. And don't forget, this is totally non-intrusive. This is, you know, none of this technology ever touches the Titanic or goes anywhere near the Titanic, so it's non-intrusive. The bodies are long gone because of the conditions down there. And I think, you know, I would hope that the majority would want to find this out. But it's very important that whatever we do, and we do in conjunction with the families of the survivors.
Anthony, it has been fascinating to talk to you and to see those images this morning. You know, it's one of those things, isn't it? You think you know what happened. We actually don't know at all, do we? Finding out so much more.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I love the fact that we will be able to, in the future, not just we're making a film about it, obviously, you know, all of us will be able to walk using, you know, we'll be able to walk among the wreckage of the Titanic. And I think that's pretty extraordinary, really, and a new way of experiencing history.
OK. Anthony, thank you so much for sharing those with us this morning, for coming in. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.